I suppose. Oh, it's just shocking. Neat. All right, let's fucking do it.
You want to go ahead and crank on the camera?
They're on.
So they're going now?
I start at, once it hits 59, then I start,
Did they
just in case.
get to see them?
Jason, conference everyone's at.
Somebody stay here.
Good afternoon and welcome to the February 6, 2024 meeting of the Goochland County Finance and Audit Committee. In absence of officers, Vic Carpenter, the County Administrator, will call this meeting to order. I'm going to start with asking the members of this committee if you had a chance, hopefully. If not, I ask you to make sure that you review the charter of this committee as included in your agenda packet. It kind of explains the purpose and the responsibilities of this committee as well. If you've taken time to look at that, if you have any questions. If not, then we'll move on. And we'll move on to the election of officers of this committee. This committee is a committee that is appointed by the Board of Supervisors. We have 3 members that have been appointed to serve on it. We have Mr. Waters, we have Mr. Winfrey, and we have Ms. Christie. And what I'll do now is we will open the process for nomination for the office of chair. Do I have a motion to nominate someone for the position of chairman?
I motion Tom Winfrey.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, I will close the floor. All in favor of Mr. Winfrey as chair, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Winfrey, congratulations, you're the chair. Moving on to the office of vice chair. Do I have a motion for the office of vice chair?
I motion Charlie Waters.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. All in favor of Mr. Waters as vice chair, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Waters is elected chair. I will now turn the gavel over to vice chair. Now turn the gavel over to Mr. Winfrey as chairman, and the meeting over to him.
Thank you. Wow. Well, first off, I'm sure all of you all know who else is in this room, but I'm not sure I do. Could we go around the room and introduce ourselves and begin our process of getting to know one another?
Oh,
Sure.
Sandy Warwick, Goochland on my mind. Tara McGee, Goochland County Attorney. Debbie White, Chief Financial Officer, Schools.
Jen Stroger, Oilville, Virginia resident.
Okay, Jonathan Lau, Goochland Board.
Carla Cave, Finance Director, County.
Diane Omri, Goochland Social Services.
Charlie Waters, Board of Supervisors.
Vic Carpenter, County Administrator.
Okay, and I'm Tom Winfrey.
Jonathan Christie, Board of Supervisors.
Pam Duncan, Treasurer.
Oh, I'm Mike Shaliga. I do election rigging.
Jason Barrett, Sheriff's Office.
Great, thank you all. Now, we have in front of us the minutes of the December 5th Finance and Audit Committee. I think we've all had possession of those. Do we have a motion to accept them as presented, or are there any?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now, we have a request for proposal for new county auditors. Ms. Cave, can you give us a brief update on the process we will follow?
Sure. We were under contract with our last auditors, PV Mears, for 5 years. That contract expired end of FY23, so we just put a RFP out a couple weeks ago. The responses are due by this Thursday at 2 p.m. and I think we're only expecting to get about 3 firms to respond. and we'll set up interviews and contract for a 3-year agreement with a new firm. And it could be the same firm with a possible 2-year extension. We've been very happy with PB Mirrors, so, you know, we wouldn't mind having them again, but we'll see what we get in, and looking forward to the next year.
All right, thank you. All right, now, the financial policies, we've had an opportunity to review those. Do you want to lead us through any discussion, review on it, Carl, anything, or anyone?
I'll let Mr. Butters chime in and Vic if they want to, but we have reviewed these policies probably 3 or 4 months in a row. They were vetted very well. They went before the Board of Supervisors with the last few rounds of changes. They were marked up in red. You guys have the clean copy, but no, they're just the county's basic financial policies. And if there's ever anything you review and want to discuss, we can definitely get into the weeds with it. But we've already done that recently, so.
Mine looking brand new, eyes looking on me.
Yes, I know.
Appears to me to be conservative.
Yes, definitely.
Sound.
Yeah, they're very much focused on making sure that we maintain the fundamental policies that put us in the position we are.
Right, and there's certain limits beyond which we won't go, or whatever. We have stop gaps and all that sort of thing. So
These
great.
were approved by the board in December, so they are the approved policies of the board at this point.
Any discussion on those, any questions? All right, now, the second quarter projections. Okay.
Yep, I can review those. So they are on the very back of this packet. And so we pull numbers through the end of December for the second quarter projections, and that's where these numbers stand as of December 31st. We are looking at slightly higher revenues than we budgeted to the tune of $2.4 million. Most of that is due to the higher interest that we're earning, much higher interest rate than we had budgeted for. Also, we had assumed a 20% decline in assessed value when we created our budget for personal property, like cars. So we factored that in, and we're not seeing that quite as drastically as we thought. So personal property and interest are contributing to our revenue increase. And then on the expenses, this is just a rough estimate. We're only halfway through the year, but it looks like departments ultimately will turn in a little under $2 million due to vacancies, some padding and things like operations and maintenance that we luckily had to use, things like that. And so operating wise, we're looking at a surplus of $12.7 million. And then once we fund our CIP projects that we've approved, and a slight transfer to our CSA fund, we are looking at this $889,000 at the bottom, and hopefully everyone's following along in that year-end projected column. That 889 is what we're thinking will be returned to the general fund at June 30, after all is said and done.
So as a reminder, the bulk of where those surplus funds go is into our CIP programs. So it starts off with surplus, but that is then transferred to our CIP programs, which obviously is where we buy our vehicles, our buildings, things like that.
Right. So
you
this is
and
a lot
I,
of figures here, but if you have any questions,
you and I had a
ask.
discussion about a sort of an unplanned demand on our funding
Yes.
because of the bond financing. Is that involved, is that the Tuckahoe Service District?
TCSD is not included in this at all. So this focus that we put before the board just focuses on the general fund and what will be returned. We call it the surplus at the end of the year. So this is strictly general fund. The only relation that the general fund has with TCSD is we do a 55% sharing on our real estate revenue. It's portions, it's not our entire revenue, it's pieces of assessed land within our whole assessment that we transfer to TCSD every year. So, and that's to help pay off TCSD debt. But the TCSD fund and all the utilities funds are kept totally separate, with the exception of that one.
So this is just our general fund. It's not schools, it's not any of those separate funds of the county.
Yeah, this is our main operating day-to-day operating.
But weren't we talking about some, I mean, we were earning too much from some of our investments and,
Arbitrage, yes.
yeah. So,
Yes. So we originally, I was talking to Mr. Winfrey, just to summarize what we were talking about an arbitrage liability that our auditors brought to our attention during the last audit. This is the first time we've ever dealt with this. We have so much money sitting in our bank earning interest because we had borrowed for the Goochland Elementary School and the fire station too. And we are earning over 5% interest. That's above the limit that you're allowed to earn. You know all about this, I don't know why I'm focusing on you. But eventually, and it's considered long-term debt because it's not anytime soon, but we will have to pay arbitrage back to the IRS because we're earning such a high interest rate. We had to book that in our audit as a liability and an expense. So I was talking to Mr. Winfrey about whether that expense needed to be in the actual fund, which would destroy our budget. It would be $2 million. But I did talk to the auditor, and
Okay.
that because it's considered a long-term liability, we don't have to pay it within the next year. We don't have to budget for it. We won't be writing a check anytime soon. So that's not part of any of this.
Okay.
And it won't be for the FY25 budget either,
thank you.
thankfully. You're welcome.
Is the arbitrage, is that basically anything over that 5%?
Yeah, well, it's anything
Is
over
that-
an amount lower than 5%. It's a set rate when you borrow it,
Okay.
and if we earn more than that, we have to return it.
Okay,
It's not a bad
So it's
thing,
just,
but-
yeah, right, so it's just returning it, there's not, it doesn't go beyond that, right?
Yeah, there's no penalty.
Okay.
It makes me wonder if all the years we were earning below that threshold.
I
would have been
know.
offset.
Yeah, I wish
And
we could
these
keep
bonds
it.
were
Is it a one-way
tax-free
street?
bonds, so because they're tax-free bonds, then that money was invested at a higher interest rate than we were earning on tax-free bonds. That's when the IRS will ultimately step in and try to get some clawback from us. So that's ultimately what drives that. If the bonds had been structured differently where they weren't tax-free, then we wouldn't be on the hook. And I can tell you, there were many, many years when there was no interest income. So we sat with money in the bank and earned nothing. So it's a nice position to be in where we can actually earn so much that we got to give some of it back. So I would much rather be in that condition than where we've been where we earn nothing on our money. Thank you.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's totally fine.
All right, now, the floor is open for any new business that may need to be brought before the committee. Anybody have anything for the good of the cause to bring to the committee? This could very well be the shortest committee meeting that we,
I think we had one 3 minutes. Like.
well, thank you, everybody. Now, open any public comments? No? Do we open it officially like a?
Well, if
Like the chairman does for the board, so we'll open a public comment session?
it's generally a little less formal, but we would still have the same rules for comments. that would.
Do we have public comment, anyone? So seeing no public comments and no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn to our next meeting on May 7th.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. All right, thank you all very much. You're easy on me this time. I appreciate it.
Has anybody asked you about the item on?
Congratulations.